Hello.
We're back.
We're back. Welcome to the Red Scare Podcast. What if we started doing that?
Yeah.
I'm your host, Dasha.
Yeah, I know. Well, I think somebody like when we started early on recommended that to me and was like, I forgot who, but they were like, you should professionalize and maybe you could introduce Dasha and she can introduce you. And I was like, dude, that's so gay. I'm never going to do that.
We've never done that once, I don't think.
Yeah.
But it would help people differentiate our voices.
Yeah, that's true. It's actually for this episode, it's better that they don't. We need to maintain a high level of plausible deniability. Exactly. I feel like a white rapper right now. I feel like, quote, Jack Harlow or Machine Gun Kelly, because it's going to be, well, you know, it's going to be very difficult to get through this episode creatively without using the N-word.
Yeah, definitely.
Because, you know, people have been dying. They've been practically beating down the door to hear our opinions on homophobia in the hip hop industry and buck breaking.
We're tackling a big issue today that's been on my mind for a while.
Yeah. And
it's all sort of come to a head this last week with DaBaby.
Yeah. Who do you think he would come on the pod now that his reputation and career are possibly in the toilet temporarily?
You don't think the apology he issued today was going to redeem him? The one he clearly did not write?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
The publicist wrote?
Yeah. The management team.
Maybe I would definitely have him on the pod.
If you apologize, I feel like your critics and haters smell blood and they'll come.
Well, he's apologized kind of a couple times.
Yeah.
He apologized in a way that made things way worse. So he got in trouble, for anyone who doesn't know, for when he was at Rolling Loud Music Festival.
This is the festival that your friend was going to go to.
Did go to.
Okay,
yeah, cool. Yeah. That I saw some videos of that were very reminiscent of Woodstock 99, but that does seem kind of par for the course. Lollapalooza
that's going on
right now, and there I saw some photos from that also looked incredibly disgusting. Just like such a swarming crowd of people.
Yeah.
And the palpable desperation of like post-COVID, maybe pre another lockdown, kind of like there is this, much like Woodstock 99, there is this kind of like Y2K-ish fervor.
Right.
I feel like this nihilistic flavor of people trying to like make up for lost time.
Yeah.
Or even in New York, I feel like
to pack it in before
the way people are partying
wave,
is a little like, okay,
excessive,
like cool down. It's,
well, I wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know because you have a family. But I've been up all night doing bumps. I'm just kidding. I don't do cocaine anymore. Don't have the serotonin to spare.
Yeah, exactly.
Trying to get my mind right so I can start my own family. But yeah,
it's like a family, but it's also a podcast, and exactly. We just all like chill together. Yeah. So Lollapalooza, but that's like a white people music festival, or is it mixed?
Well, DaBaby was supposed to perform, but
he got
was ousted, and then from another one, and I think
the fake news mainstream media is trying to buck break DaBaby, and it seems, you know, he was unbroken for a time, and it seems like they have finally succeeded in breaking his spirit.
They broke him down
because he issued this kind of like formal, very kind of by the book sounding apology that did not so we still haven't gotten to what he did. So he's at Rolling Loud. He's I saw some videos of his performance. It looked incredible. Yeah. I think he is a very charismatic performer. And he said, put your cell phones in the air if you don't have HIV or AIDS or any of those STDs that kill you in a couple weeks. So the only two ones being...
Even HIV doesn't kill you in a couple weeks. And
it takes...
nowadays
5 to 10 years without treatment.
Well, nowadays the treatments are so advanced and everyone's on PrEP, and that's part of the issue people had with it, was that he was sort of reinforcing kind of a stigma around HIV. He also said, if your pussy smells like water, put your cell phone in the air. and people were very, very upset about this. And then he made like a follow-up video.
Yeah.
Where he was basically like, no, you've all got it twisted. My gay fans don't have AIDS.
Yeah.
Because
they're not like
junkies or bums or dirty.
Yeah. And he really looked like he was going to get his dick sucked in that video.
Yeah.
He's like leaning back with an angle by a man.
Yeah. Well, plausibly closeted, I think, DaBaby.
I mean, I think if you're a rapper in 2021, you gay. The whole rap game is gay. I'm sorry. It was over after DMX died. He was like the last hard rapper. So the Wu-Tang guys lost all credibility when they signed up for that fake and gay ass documentary.
What about like XXX Tentacion died too?
Yeah.
Or like
Pop Smoke. I don't know.
Dead.
My mom weirdly is more familiar with XXX Tentacion and Pop Smoke than I am.
We're not totally qualified to speak, I think,
on the Black experience.
On the Black experience, formal disclaimer. Or really like music.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
Because we don't listen to
Dasha, I met our only straight black male fan at Essex Market.
And you said he wasn't even autistic.
He wasn't autistic. He was really hot. He was a corporate lawyer. He was like 27 or 28. I was like trying to see if I had any girlfriends I could set him up with or something.
Yeah. What did he say?
He said that he loves when I post about hip hop because he appreciates my knowledge. And I was like, oh my God, I have the hood pass now. No, but he was really cute and sweet. And I owe him a shirt, and
we'll get one right out to you.
Yeah.
Whatever your name is.
Darius.
For real?
Yeah, for real. Though he was ordering an espresso drink, so actually the jury's out on whether he's straight. Just gonna put that out there.
Yeah.
He might be on the down low.
Did his dick get hard when he was talking to you? Because if not, he gay. Oh God.
We're already off to a great start. No, I mean, like, rap now is just like, it's really just like mainstream, mainline. So everyone in the rap game is kind of gay, and all these celebrities rushed to like issue their condemnations, like Elton John, Madonna.
Yeah, everyone was renouncing DaBaby.
Yeah, Dua Lipa was like, I do not recognize that man I worked with. And it's like, yeah, because your record labels mashed you together and you literally had no idea who he was when you worked with him. It's not
because she's like a Albanian mob money laundering vessel. Yeah. She's not even.
Yeah, she's an extortion.
She's barely sentient. Yeah. I mean,
though I was
I was so surprised. That's not the person I knew.
Yeah, she's like, I thought I was working with a Young Thug or Tory Lanez.
I don't like that song really. So
Levitating.
Yeah,
I actually think his verse on it is really bad. And when I first found out about him, I was like, oh, this guy sucks, he's not charismatic. And I was like completely dead wrong, because just based on that one track, which he was just ill placed for.
Yeah, that song's a little nauseating.
I like that song.
He's talented. He's no DMX.
No. I like anything that sounds like kind of like a Balkan Lot Lizard discotheque jam.
Yeah, I usually do too. But something about that one doesn't sit right with me.
Seamless.
I've heard it just so many times not in a good kind of mind control way.
So
everyone's
So he basically said some quote vile remarks and then followed them up with more objectionable remarks. And you know what they say, like, when you find yourself in a hole, stop digging.
Yeah.
And he just kept on.
But then he also kind of apologized on Twitter and said, like, I get why the LGBTQ community's mad. Like, it's all love, whatever. Yeah. He had this kind of like half-hearted apology that seemed obviously more genuine. And I don't really find his remarks to be particularly harmful.
They're literally so funny. If I was in the audience in the crowd at a concert and some guy was like, put your phone up if you don't have HIV, I'd burst out laughing. It's so funny.
It's like it's clearly in context, it was said in a spirit of jest.
Yeah. And like the fucking mendacious and vile news media was like, he was going on a homophobic tirade or a homophobic rant. I saw the words tirade and rant used so many times, and I was just like, he was literally amping up the crowd. And in the video, in his apology video or non-apology video, he's like, I was literally doing like a call to action. It's fine.
Yeah, it is.
He clearly was just trying to pump up the crowd, get the juices flowing.
And his gay fans don't have AIDS.
They don't care. They also don't care.
They also don't care. They're already listening to DaBaby. And he's just a little baby. Yeah. How could you be so mad at him? Baby. How could you be so whack baby?
But like, also like gay guys, literally like the whole essence of being gay is picturing yourself getting murdered by a ripped working class man like DaBaby. I mean, I hope he's working class. Maybe he's one of those like middle class Atlanta dudes, but he codes.
I think he's from like Washington or something weird.
From Seattle
or
Portland.
He's from Portland.
I grew up listening to Nirvana.
Totally wrong.
Anyway,
DaBaby did nothing wrong.
Yeah, I think
I'll go out and say it. And I'm thinking about following him.
Yeah.
And all
wouldn't have occurred to me before, but
now I'm kind of thinking he's from Ohio. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Totally dead wrong.
Like my favorite rap group, Bone Thugs and Harmony.
His Wikipedia says he grew up listening to Eminem, 50 Cent, and Lil Wayne with his 2 older brothers. So probably solidly middle class.
Yeah, totally. Well, okay. Then he put out a new music video.
Yeah, which he says he made prior to the controversy, but which also included some off-color commentary on AIDS.
Yeah.
I didn't watch.
This guy's obsessed with AIDS. I'm telling you, he's on that Solo forum at night reading about like seroconversion.
What's Solo
It's
forum?
like Nicola's forum. That's like where that published oral histories of AIDS.
But you have to read that Sarah Schulman book.
Yeah,
it's so fucking long.
Yeah.
She would have been a good guest for this one.
Yeah. So Sarah, what do you think of DaBabies?
But you know a lot about AIDS.
I do, yeah. But I
you were obsessed
sympathize with DaBaby because it seems like he's like a guy who grew up listening to Lil Wayne and is into AIDS, just like me.
Yeah, he's
I get it.
Yeah, and like you, he can't. He has like intrusive kind of thoughts that he has to voice and can't.
It sounds like projection. Maybe he has AIDS. But so the video was also really funny and good, I thought. And like, I literally don't like anything and I'm not impressed by anything.
You liked it.
I liked it because I thought he was really like kind of on a meta level making fun of like satirizing a lot of shit down to, he was making fun of like the stereotype that black people are prone to gun violence as seen from a white lens. Like he was mocking everybody. He was like getting his joint copped from a white chick and fucking some white MILFs. He was like in court. It was really comical.
He's clearly has a sense of humor.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like the greatest work of art that I've ever encountered in my life.
Of course not.
But
well, so there's a lot of think pieces that came out in the wake of this, kind of comparing DaBaby to like Lil Nas X, who's sort of being heralded as this like champion of like black bottom culture. Yeah. And he's like reclaiming like black homosexual expression in his work and music videos and stuff. And I am a huge Lil Nas X fan. And then T.I. came out and made a comment. Great news. Finally, some good news.
Yeah. What did he say?
He said like, that's fine if he wants to do that, but he doesn't want his kids watching Lil Nas X videos. He made like vaguely homophobic remarks that probably his publicist should have advised him against.
Yeah.
And sort of in defense of DaBaby also.
You know, T.I.'s publicist is like his little cousin that he's put on. It's all in the family. Wait, what did he say? Oh, he said, I love this. This is actually from one of these think pieces that you sent me. I don't see an end to this, by Craig Jenkins in Vulture.
Yeah.
This is about T.I. The Atlanta star facing multiple accusations of sexual assault. Ouch. Right in the first sentence. Also claimed that the LGBTQ community is, quote, bullying DaBaby and complained about high standards of morality, framing rap shows as safe spaces where a terrible remark shouldn't be villainized. I mean, true. a statement echoed in a tweet by Toronto's Tory Lanez, who is alleged to have shot Megan Thee Stallion in the foot.
Right.
So he's like doing that IDW, like playing both sides and being like reasonable.
Yeah,
thing.
that thing.
Yeah.
Right. That's also people
welcome
were
to the
mad.
intellectual dark web.
People were also mad at DaBaby for bringing that guy up on stage.
Yeah.
Which used to seem like it was, I don't know, for a long, the DaBaby stuff is interesting because for a long time it felt like the music industry, especially like hip hop, was kind of insulated from quote cancel culture, you know, because the misogyny and homophobia is sort of ingrained into it, and it's kind of a given that is hard to like, it's not a thread anyone really wanted to unravel.
Right. And the last thing like nice and polite and courteous white liberals want to do is like interrogate or criticize or analyze anything happening among black people. But
this has sort of given people like, the fervor with which people are mad at DaBaby really does feel kind of racist. Like they want a politically convenient way to like yell at a black guy.
Yeah.
And break his spirit.
Yeah.
Buck break him.
Yeah, buck break him. Yeah.
Which we learned all about.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I've been deep in that rabbit hole researching Tariq Nasheed.
Ooh, say more.
I mean, I have a lot to say, but wait, do we have?
No. We can keep.
Do we have more DaBaby stuff?
Material?
I don't know. I feel like, he has a sense of humor and he's very self-aware.
Yeah.
And I was really impressed how long he held out without issuing a formal apology.
I know, but I think he was just dropping off of more and more shows, which I bet he's still getting paid for.
Well, Tariq Nasheed actually had a really good tweet that I sent you. I wonder.
Yeah, he made the case that they're just sort of capitalizing on the publicity.
Yeah,
but I kind of disagree because I think like Lollapalooza and stuff was sold out long before these music festivals.
That's true.
Are very coveted and stuff, and it's not like they need more.
Yeah, I guess people buy ticks far in advance.
I think they're just kind of falling in line.
Yeah, but then again, they do need to drum up fanfare among like the music press, and it's been so long since any of these festivals like popped off.
Yeah,
and you're right that it's like the last hurrah because I think everybody is like trembling and shaking because they know like lockdown number 2 is coming, and they're trying to just like get everything in.
I don't think I could handle it.
Yeah,
psychologically.
I mean, I can't either. I've spoken to multiple people who have said the same thing.
I don't think I'll make it.
Yeah.
I'm already so
You hear that? If there's another lockdown, we're going to commit suicide.
I don't think...
Everybody's like, yes, let them slit their wrists.
Ooh, I won't bounce back.
Yeah, it'll be hard.
It's been a long year, and I'm pretty lucky, all things considered.
Yeah,
so
you got a tan out of it.
I got a nice...
It's pretty tight.
Yeah, I don't even feel tan anymore.
This think piece by Craig Jenkins is really interesting because
the Vulture one.
Yeah, first of all, it's like has the vibe of like an 8th grade expository essay.
Yeah.
But he writes, it's funny because he's right at certain points, but not in the way he thinks. Like he writes 2 common side effects of being raised to think that the world caters to your interests are a narcissistic inability to conceive of people existing comfortably and happily outside of your preferred framework, and a desire to police the boundaries of what is acceptable. And it's like you're literally describing yourself.
You're doing, dude. Yeah. Yeah. DaBaby's not policing any boundaries of what's acceptable. Yeah. He's making like ignorant, flippant comments about AIDS.
Yeah. To like drum up morale, frankly.
Yeah. He's just having a goof.
Yeah. He also has a great bod, DaBaby. I was shocked because I learned he was 29, and I just assume again like that all these new like post Xanax rappers are like 19 to 21, and then they all get shot at 23. And it's like,
no, he's up there.
Yeah.
He's really hot.
He's hot. I love a late bloomer. Yeah, he does look short, but that's okay. We love our short kings.
We really do. One on the binary, no question.
Yeah, totally.
Sorry.
But like, I'm a deranged bitch, and I think that Tariq Nasheed is the one on the binary. I really would. I would. I'm sorry. I'm going to put that out there. I would.
Binary system. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. Not like top of the list, but one.
No.
Yeah. Pretty much everyone in the Buck Breaking is a one for me.
There were some fine ladies.
Fine ladies. That one bow tie guy was hot.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know any of their names except for Judge Joe Brown.
Riza Islam and Wesley Muhammad were the two Nation of Islam guys. And I love Nation of Islam guys.
They would never fuck me.
No. You white devil. No, they totally would.
You think they would?
Yeah, because you know how like they argue in that documentary that like that white men and white women lusted for black bodies and then had to vilify black people and blame them for various sexual exchanges. It's like, guess what? That's not limited to white people. Every race lusts after every other race, and it's like called fetish. And
yeah. But the power dynamics of antebellum slavery were different.
Yes. But no, I love like Nation of Islam guys because they're literally the black version of like Tucker Carlson bow tie conservatives.
Why? Because they also wear bow ties.
Yeah, because they wear bow ties and they're like prim and proper, and they're also like seething ethno-nationalists.
Totally. Yeah.
They're like literally the same role.
Yeah.
In their respective societies. Yeah.
They want kind of the same things fundamentally. Yeah. Which is like a return to traditional values.
Yeah, totally.
And be able to stand proud in their masculinity.
Bow ties, because
they
gay.
Look good on a black guy.
Yeah.
They really do.
Anyway.
God. Can we talk about Lil Nas X for a sec? Did you watch his video?
I did, yeah.
I really like Lil Nas X too. I think he is gorgeous.
He's really cute. He's tall.
I wish he was straight.
Yeah.
Because he's really funny.
So you could fuck a 19-year-old?
Oh my God, Anna, please.
Wait, he's 19.
He is. He's very young. Maybe in his early 20s or something. But he also has shitposter roots, which I like about him. And I was a huge fan of Old Town Road. Yeah. And I'm really glad to see that he's had like, a lasting. The new song sounds, I think Kanye West produced it, and it really sounds like that like graduation era kind of Kanye. Yeah. And it's, I don't know. And the triumphant kind of tone of it feels almost a little Soviet, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like the trumpets. And then I really like Call Me By Your Name. I think that's
that one I like more. This one was a little bit like a miss for me. But it
Jack Harlow really not so great.
No. But it's funny to see all these like music critics like trying to shoehorn DaBaby and Lil Nas X into like think piece style arguments, because like
I want Lil Nas X to speak out
on DaBaby and condemn him.
No,
he doesn't care.
I think he would support DaBaby.
I think he literally doesn't care and probably thinks it's funny.
He definitely
and would also probably say something similar at one of his shows.
Definitely.
But I think like Lil Nas X is not marginalized or oppressed anymore. He's like the voice of the future. He's like he's like the face of hip hop now, essentially.
Basically, yeah.
So I understand that black and gay people are marginalized, but not he's doing like a great job making that worldview popular and mainstream.
To Buck Breaking, they're not as marginalized as the straight black male.
Yeah, that's true.
Who is the most condemned and the most alienated.
Yeah, the lowest on the pecking order.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, he's doing a collabo with Jack Harlow. I keep forgetting. He's like very
Who put Jack Harlow on that track?
I don't know. They were like, all these like record execs were like scrambling their brains. Like, we got to get a guy who's sort of like Post Malone, but even less charismatic.
I heard Post Malone couldn't remember the words to a lot of his songs at Rolling Loud.
They're not that hard. I remember the words.
I definitely could sing most Post Malone songs probably. So yeah, he seems a little fried, and Jack Harlow even more. So Jack Harlow seems like is he friends with Chet Hanks?
I don't know, but they're the same genre.
He seems like he could be a son of a celeb.
Yeah, he does. He seems like a guy you'd run into at like an LA pool party.
For sure.
Yeah, he's like that
dime a dozen. Yeah. Charmless.
But I find him very not hot and not charismatic.
I agree.
Like Post Malone, I would. Jack Harlow, teetering on zero.
I probably would in a again, the binary system. It's the only accurate black and white. It's the only black and white thing that we reference on this pod. Because usually we're obsessed with nuance, but
yeah.
I think probably, I guess I would. But
yeah, I have to think about that.
Yeah. Do a searching moral.
Yeah. Inventory. I would have sex with Jack Harlow. He's like, girl, you old. He's probably like 21. How many white rappers do we need? It's like feminist confessional writers. Like there was Joan Didion, there was Chris Krauss. We don't need any more of them. We had Eminem.
Yeah.
We don't need any more of them.
We kind of don't.
We don't need white rappers. It's a crowded field.
Mac Miller, dead.
R.I.P. Every time a white rapper goes to heaven, another one sprouts out from the cracks in the concrete.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway,
it's
an interest. Being a white rapper is like, it's like an interesting genre because you have to creatively work your way around saying the N-word, but also you have to kind of sound black and you have to present sort of. Yeah. I kind of thought Post Malone was black when White Iverson came out, which is actually pretty incongruent with the message of the song. But I was kind of like, ooh. I heard it on the radio, and then I was like, oh, makes sense. Blacker than Sean King.
Wonder what he thinks about Buck Breaking.
Yeah, he probably have a lot to say about.
I did not see.
My ancestors were known to engage in a lot of buck breaking. Oops. I mean, they were buck broken.
I was trying to see. Hey, Eli.
What do you think about buck breaking?
Did you watch Buck Breaking? Yeah. Pretty good, huh?
Yeah, it was interesting, I guess.
Yeah, it was interesting.
That's not what he was saying when we were drunk.
Sorry, what were we talking about? Buck breaking.
Shit, I don't remember. Sean King.
Right. Sean King is white. DaBaby is innocent.
Yeah.
I think he'll bounce back, DaBaby.
Yeah, he'll be fine. He has so much music industry muscle behind him. He'll be just fine.
He has a lot of fans.
Yeah.
And I don't know though.
The crazy thing to me about fame is that back in the day when it was scarcer, you knew what people's fandoms were.
Yeah.
You understood who was a fan of George Clooney or Halle Berry or something. Now I have no idea. I kind of understand who DaBaby's fans are. Now that I'm a newly minted one, but had the scandal not popped off, I would have never interacted with them.
No.
There's so many different little intersecting fandoms in the world.
Definitely. He wasn't really on my radar, to be honest. And when I went to the Lana Del Rey concert at Jones Beach, I was very surprised. I thought it was going to be tons and tons of girls wearing flower crowns, and there were hardly any at all. It was a very, very truly widespread assortment of people. Yeah. And I know who our fans are. BPD Art Hose.
Yeah.
I saw this girl walking down the street and she looks like a freaky ass bitch. And when we passed by, she said, huge fan of your podcast. I was like, yep.
I like that when you lock eyes from a distance.
I can tell that girl likes it.
Yeah. She has needle marks and a black eye.
If you're a girl in trouble, you're probably listening to Red Scare Pod.
Red Scare podcast, yeah.
No, but yeah, I know what you mean about. Well, also there's the kind of the music festival crowd doesn't feel very discerning.
It's an all-purpose crowd.
Exactly.
They're there more for like the music festival than any specific act.
Yeah.
I mean, I think some of them are like diehard fans and like they follow people around.
For sure. Like Rolling Loud and Lollapalooza definitely seem pretty all-purpose.
Yeah.
And just kind of for like music fans in general, which
dude, just like I love music and I love drugs.
I love music. I love live music. I love porta potties.
Yeah.
I love sweating in a crowd. I love
hypothermia.
Yeah, not being able to go to the bathroom for a long time.
I like walked outside to Hawa to get a juice and some like skater boys were like, Red Scare, yeah. And I was like, don't look at me. So I like wasn't wearing makeup and like DaBaby had just like DaBaby had just spit up on me.
DaBaby. I can't believe they canceled your baby already.
I know.
Well, Buck Breaking.
Buck Breaking.
We watched Buck Breaking. Which I was saying I was trying to find like some think pieces about Buck Breaking and they were few and far between.
Yeah,
it
because
doesn't seem like
Tariq Nasheed
really...
is truly extra institutional. He's like the Black Alex Jones. Blalix Jones.
Blalix, totally.
That's what he is. I mean, it's like totally like a one-to-one. Like he serves a similar kind of purpose. And I've heard people dismiss him as like a garden variety, like race grifter. And I think he's more than just a charlatan or a huckster. I think he's a true visionary artist.
Absolutely.
He's an artist.
Buck Breaking was phenomenal. It was worth every cent of the $21.99 I paid to stream it on Vimeo. I would highly recommend everyone do the same.
Yeah. And I'm like willing to
go to buckbreakingthemovie.com.
Go on Vimeo. Let's see. I have
but
some
it's not really getting a lot of play. Yeah. What did you dig up in your studies?
he's a very interesting character. So he's obviously like very smart and very well read, which like you immediately, because I thought, whenever you hear about one of these like Twitter personalities, you think like, okay, they're going to be a total midwit. But they're both like, he and Alex Jones are both like very interested in telling stories through conspiracy theories and Illuminati histories. And like, they're both usually right, if metaphorically. Like they get their point across, and they're also cute in the same way.
It's not really about the facts.
Yeah, but it's about kind of a metaphorical, like a cosmology.
But I was an emotional truth of you.
Exactly, like an intuitive truth. But I was talking to this guy on Twitter who's kind of an expert on Tariq Nasheed, and like if you notice, a lot of Tariq Nasheed's work is like putting himself at the center of the discourse. So he'll hire a bunch of like academics and scholars.
Judge Joe Brown.
Yeah, Judge Joe Brown, Erica Lachey, whatever, put himself in the kind of middle of the action, like seamlessly splice himself in. And like basically he's saying like, I'm one of these guys, as this guy pointed out to me. And when it's very clear that he's actually completely self-taught and like
autodidact.
Yeah, he's an autodidact, and that's what actually makes him so charming and compelling. But it's just like interesting because you think of like the typical documentarians like Adam Curtis, who's like a disembodied voice, or like Errol Morris, who's like humbly serving the role of the interviewer, like off camera.
Yeah,
and Nasheed's like
even Bannon is a pretty behind the scenes kind of a puppet master.
Yeah,
with the docs he produced and stuff.
And Tariq Nasheed is like really cute because he's like too vain and eager to like keep his dick in his pants and stay behind the scenes. He's like the persona. And he has a very colorful past. So he was in an R&B group. He wrote originally self-helpy kind of pickup artistry books on how to be a pimp and a playa. He hosted a dating podcast.
How to stand in your masculinity.
Yeah.
A dating podcast.
Yeah. With two girls, one whom he fired on air, apparently.
Ooh. We should get him on the pod to fire us.
Yeah. He'd fire us from our own podcast.
And take it over.
For symbolically buck breaking.
Call it Black Scare.
Black Square. It's a Malevich reference. And he was allegedly investigated by the FBI on the Trump administration's orders for being, quote, an identity extremist and a bunch of other stuff before he pivoted to this kind of like ethno-narcissistic beat. But the question I have is is he woke in the current sense of the word? I think he's woke in the old sense of the word.
Like awakened to the truths behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I think Buck Breaking is very resonant as a documentary specifically because it has this anti-woke sort of in the contemporary way perspective.
Yeah. Anti-gay, anti-trans, anti-LGBT message.
Anti-LGBT
so
agenda
is a slavery era practice of publicly sexually humiliating male slaves.
Yes.
To make an example out of them and chasten them.
Yes.
And everybody else. And the thesis of this documentary is that this practice, this like mode of sexual exploitation persists in contemporary society, but in clandestine and insidious ways.
Through the LGBT agenda.
Yes. Yeah.
Exactly.
I think I have a quote, but they argue that this is done through the promotion of the LGBT plus agenda within the Black community to emasculate heterosexual Black males and wage an assault on the Black nuclear family. Mm-hmm. Which, like, they're not.
They make some good
not entirely
wrong. They're not. They are wrong, but because I don't think it is so cut and dry.
Yeah.
And I think that the LGBT agenda, if you want to call it that, is really just sort of a symptom of larger cultural trends.
Yeah.
And it isn't quite as like racialized.
Yeah.
As Buck Breaking would lead you to believe. But they make a lot of good points. They make a lot of also very Judge Joe Brown especially makes a lot of very.
I love him. Do you follow him on Twitter?
I do not. I'm going to start.
He's like Vincent Curatola. He's like a Twitter star. He just has that magic
virtuoso,
touch. Yeah.
A poet.
Yeah.
A posting poet. Yeah, there's also obviously, I mean, I had to watch the doc in like 3 parts because I was like getting so exhausted and like bogged down by like flagrant weird misinformation and just trying to follow like a thread and like losing it when they like but all that said, I did really enjoy it and would recommend it.
Incredible, because I came away from it having learned nothing about the subject matter at hand, because it was like so associative and impressionistic. Like
it's a good like, ambient watch.
Prove any of their claims.
No.
And like, you know, it's interesting because like, you know, it had a very like rambling narrative that failed to really prove the thesis,
and then wrapped up and it starts with like the dawn of time with like European cavemen
in the ice age
because white people came from ice instead of like worshiping the sun like African people. Mm-hmm. And they say that Black people basically invented culture and white people don't have any culture except for like sodomy and being gay. And that there's this like perversion, that there's a European perversion that's connected to the ice age that then is like proliferated through like Greek antiquity
down to like the Enlightenment, down to the slave era.
Weird throwaway comment about Scandinavian people fucking sheep somewhere in there.
I love the graphics.
I love the reenactments. I love the graphics. I love when there's one point where they show like a protest sign that says "gay is the new black." That's clearly like fabricated. Like no one ever made that like, sign.
No, it's like, it's literally like Cory Bush hiring interns to make up racist hate mail to post on Twitter. Yeah. But it's like there's a lot of like stuff that's wrong with this documentary. Like there was some like amateurish editing and stuff like that. A
lot of music, way overscored,
too much
kind
music.
Of like,
much like me, they often defaulted to using $10 words when a 10-cent word might have sufficed.
They also, what I really enjoyed about it was that they never, in referring to like prominent figures in history such as J. Edgar Hoover or Jim Jones, They never merely call anyone gay. They always call them LGBT.
Yeah.
An LGBT white man.
Yeah.
Who was oppressing Black people in various forms. They make the case that Jim Jones was sort of like a psyop to get a bunch of
finesse game.
A finesse game. And that I did like.
But I do think that like guys like Tariq Nasheed and Alex Jones, like they're more right than kind of like a mainstream wonk or pundit like Fatty Iglesias or somebody like that who like slams you with a bunch of numbers and statistics but like draws the wrong conclusion from them.
Exactly. We're not here for the facts.
And like, Tariq, basically he argues that like kind of like buck breaking has had many faces throughout history, and the current one is the media trying to convince Black people to get on board with the LGBT agenda. And he's not wrong when he says that like if they can confuse you sexually, they can confuse you any other way.
He's not wrong.
And he draws this parallel between transgenderism and transhumanism, and of course there are some realistic actually existing parallels. Like my mom has been trying to red pill me on this lady Martine Rothblatt, who is a former lawyer and a biopharmaceutical CEO who's transgender and is probably a billionaire and has thrown hundreds of thousands of dollars at this transhumanist school and that kind of stuff. And she's like interested in like finding a scientific way to achieve immortality, like that
Epstein
kind of shit.
was very interested in transhumanism as well.
Yeah.
There's a whole like tangential sort of Epstein portion of the documentary.
Yeah.
Where they very flimsily make the case that because the pedophile island was like in the Caribbean, that like, but therefore we must assume that they were also like gay pedophiles there or something. Raping like Caribbean boys, which is plausible.
It is, but the only, or not the only, there's like plenty of mistakes that Tariq makes. The major mistake that Tariq makes is like narcissistic over identification on like the racial level. Like he thinks it's only happening to Black people, but it's happening to literally everyone. It just like they're not talking about really like LGBT ideology or transgender ideology, but elite ideology, which encompasses elements of those. Yeah.
And which at its core is about like the destruction of family life, family bonds. Like human values.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
And like your core humanity.
They're also right about feminism being a scam.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We can, I found myself like nodding along to so many points.
Yeah.
I got drunk. Like, I was like,
yes.
I've been saying this. Shut the fuck up, you white devil.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't think he would come on the pod. Maybe we should try. You think that would get us deplatformed?
Having Tariq Nasheed on? No.
You don't think he's vulnerable to the same fate as Alex Jones ultimately?
No, I don't think anybody would touch him. I mean, he had that horrible episode that I mentioned where he like filmed that hotel employee having a meltdown, which was like really like awful. Yeah. That was his Sandy Hook that really like turned me decisively against him. But
now you're back on board that you've watched Buck Breaking.
But yeah, they talk about basically how they get into like this history of buck breaking. My favorite quote from the Ice Age segment was when you're in the ice, you're not really thinking about healthy relationships. Any hole will do.
Yeah, that was like, awesome. Yeah, that white masculinity is like sodomy is just a intrinsic part of it.
Yeah.
And then I liked when that one guy was talking about all the freak Greek gods.
Yeah. Pan, bisexual freak god, Bacchus with his huge dick, the statues of Greeks and Romans with their like extremely small penises. And they argue that they're trying to emulate African comfort with one's nude body, but because it's not part of their culture inherently, it comes out looking, quote, misshapen.
And because their dicks are so small.
They call the Catholic Church a gay institution and a continuation of the Greco-Roman pedophilia complex, which is spot the lie.
Yeah, hard to argue with that.
This was a funny part. One of them argued that in ancient Greece, the most fierce gladiators were gay, and the expression, quote, joined at the ankle refers to two guys who were like gay lovers who were joined together at the ankle and fought to the death.
Fucking? Or?
No, they like had to fight off other gladiators together and would like die together.
Yeah.
That reminds me of when Ta-Nehisi Coates argued, I think it was in the Atlantic, that the word picnic comes from the phrase pick a beep, which was literally code for lynching a black man.
Huh.
When it's literally like a French derivative.
Yeah, picnic.
Yeah.
That's
and
crazy.
And they argue that like for the white man, heterosexual sex exists purely for procreation.
Yeah, but they would prefer to
gay
fuck a
sex
boy
is for pleasure,
especially a underage boy.
Yeah,
is the natural way of the white man.
Totally. But they're like not wrong if you take race out of the equation. What they're really talking about is this kind of pedophilic elite ideology where, like, you know how people are always like, well, you know, studies show that wealthy men prefer very flat-chested, skinny, ephebophilic women, while like lower class and middle class men prefer like thick, curvaceous women.
Yeah. Well, we talked about this on our last Love Line. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's literally because the former group has like a metacognitive wedge that distances them from their desires, and that makes it into like a status thing. Whereas like poorer people are just like, they don't overthink their desires. I
mean, I think in the case of that, there's just there's like a whole confluence of things happening.
Yeah, it's like a multi-factor, but like that's the explanation if you're going to go down that route, which is like purely speculative and fictive. But it's not a racial thing. It's not the white man versus the black man.
No. The phenomenon of like a ephebophilic desire is definitely rooted in class.
Yeah, but it's status related.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're like distancing yourself from like the normal, unthought out impulse, which is to procreate with some bitch who looks like Kim K but without the plastic surgery.
Well, that's why I said that I didn't really think that Donald Trump was a pedophile, because he's so unsophisticated
in his tastes. Yeah.
And
he likes just like va 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 boom.
Ooh, like mommy.
Yeah.
Mommy milkers.
Yeah.
The populist's option.
Yeah, he's like very like kind of like middlebrow or lowbrow in his tastes.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, he likes beautiful women, obviously, but they're not like avant-garde.
No, of course not.
Yeah. Anyway, the other thing that I thought was funny was how they all seem to think that whiteness and like, for that matter, blackness is like a contiguous thing through regions and eras.
Yeah, and besides the like occasional reference like James Baldwin, the documentary almost, I felt, kind of what was unsaid was that like homosexuality doesn't occur in black people naturally or something.
Yes, that it was like introduced like a virus.
Exactly.
By Whitey.
Which is of course not true.
I mean, it's literally, have they not heard of homo thugs? I mean, they would argue that was a natural phenomenon.
No, of course. But yeah, there's just a lot of like things that aren't quite as fleshed out as they could be, obviously. But overall, the impressionistic portrait that it paints is compelling.
Fun, which it's also like crazy in a documentary to like not flesh out your arguments. Like, by all means, on a podcast it's fine, but in a documentary, like, you should probably get your ducks in a row.
They had a lot of ground to cover. They were talking about the dawn of time.
Yeah.
And then it takes kind of a while to really get going. Like about an hour in is when they really kind of like blow the case open on like the contemporary LGBT agenda.
Right. It's like 2001: A Space Odyssey, but for black people. It will leave your mind blown.
Yeah, it will. Actually, it will blow your mind.
Back blown out. But It's funny. I also like how he likes Tariq himself. He's really like into research. He's like a real detective. And he like cycles through all of these kind of LGBT plus personalities. Like he mentions this person, Lord Cornbury, who was the governor of New York and New Jersey.
When he showed the portrait of like the guy wearing a dress.
Yes, that was him. Yeah. And he expanded slavery and was trans, allegedly, AKA a cross-dresser. I love how there's a lot of conflation of they apply this term trans backwards. Peter Savoley, aka Mary Jones, aka Beefsteak Pete, who is a black trans prostitute. I'm saying trans in quotes. And a pickpocket in the early 19th century.
The finesse game, of course.
Yeah, in New York.
Once again, another finesse.
Cecil Rhodes, J. Edgar Hoover, Roy Cohn, of course.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Dahmer, who they talk about how he got an honorable discharge from the military for raping and murdering black men.
That it was stuff like that where I was just like, oh, like I have to like turn this off for a second.
Yeah, like I need to take a breather. Yeah,
I need to take a breather. Like they're really throwing a lot of like crazy shit.
I felt like Jeffrey Dahmer like drilled a hole in my head and poured hydrochloric acid into it. I was just like walking around like a 13-year-old Vietnamese kid, like ooh. He talks about the Fleur de Lis logo,
yes, and how it was that. Oh my god,
yeah, that was a crazy
that they branded slaves with it, and now it's on the New Orleans Saints football helmets.
Yeah, and he talked about this woman. I didn't catch her name. In New Orleans, this rich old white lady who conducted gruesome experiments on slaves.
Well, that's true. I remember learning about that.
That's insane, and she allegedly performed crude sex change operations on them and turned one of them into a human crab by smashing his bones and reconfiguring them.
To a human crab. And the plantation in which she did all these heinous surgeries and acts is one of the most haunted places.
Really?
They say that in the book. They say it's one of the most.
Maybe you had been there.
No. But I would go on a ghost hunt.
We should go on
scary.
Like a Tariq Nasheed scavenger hunt.
And she was such a bad,
such a Karen,
such a bad Karen, such a bad slave master that all the other slave masters like ostracized her eventually.
Really?
That's how like heinous she was.
That's romantic. You'd think they'd get in line to up the ante. It's like, like at the office when the one guy stays late and makes everybody else look bad and then everybody ends up staying late. They just all start performing human crab eugenics.
The crab one is so scary. It's so scary.
And like Epstein's like obituary photo.
Yeah.
With like the neck laceration.
Well, that one's in Scary. Oh, that's in my movie too. There's a lot of overlaps between my film and Buck Breaking, actually.
Like, you guys basically made the same film.
We're both concerned. We'll both be streaming on Vimeo in no time. And yeah, we share similar concerns about the pedophilic elite, for sure.
That's true, yeah.
I think,
yeah, I mean,
it's a transracial issue. It really is.
It really, yeah, totally. I mean, I think you would like us. You're into the Epstein saga. And I know a lot about 90s hip hop. I think like we could all get along and break some bread.
I would try.
Listen, Tariq, we're Russian. We have nothing to do with slavery. No, seriously, we have nothing.
Russians kind of are exempt from the larger narrative that they like weave about white people. It also did occur to me, because Russians also extremely homophobic, extremely invested in masculinity. That's about it, I guess. But yeah, never really, more of a serfdom thing than like a slave trade. So in that way, and there's no bad blood there.
No,
none of my ancestors ever broke a buck.
No, definitely not. They broke a babka. I'm sorry.
Oy vey. In Soviet Russia, Buck breaks you. I want to get Yakov Smirnoff on that.
Oh, yeah.
On the pod, actually. I think he might be an anti-vaxxer.
Sick. We should just get all sorts of like deplorable freaks on the pod. Why not?
Yeah, we have to lose. Season 3.
I like when I was listening to Tariq Nasheed talk about this lady like turning people into human crabs, I was like thinking like this is like Alex Jones talking about Ted Turner or Bohemian Grove. I was like, yeah,
she's a real lady.
Yeah,
she's a real lady. I mean, she's like Elizabeth like Bathory or whatever.
Totally,
she's this, like the lore of hers, you know.
This is what Greta Thunberg would have been if she had been born 200 years ago. Instead, she became a climate change
activist.
Ambassador. Yeah. Judge Joe Brown made a good point that
did he
made one good point that gangsta rap is stagnant and the imagery hasn't changed in 30 years. Well, because it hasn't been a genre in 30 years, but because across the industrialized world, people find these images like fortifying and galvanizing because they act as a counterbalance for the LGBT plus agenda.
Exactly. That I did not find that to be a good point. I found it to be very confusing, but I did like when he talks about how Japanese guys can't dance.
Yeah, I thought it was so cute. He said like black youth set the image for global youth, which is true. It's true.
Yeah. I actually think I have
gangster thug rap video sells so well around the world, and also why it's so stagnant. It has not changed in 30 years. Why? Because those who put the money behind it, for the most part, sell a lot of it in Japan, Sydney, Berlin, Paris, Rome, London, Liverpool. And Japanese guys don't know how to dance. They just jump up and down, with that offbeat stuff. And
the weird jazz playing over that.
Do you think
Japanese guys don't know how to dance? They just jump up and down to that offbeat stuff.
It's true. He sounds so medicated.
Japanese guys do know how to dance.
That I don't know anything about.
I mean, not like
defer to you, but Judge Joe Brown would probably come on the pod.
He might.
Anybody who's on Twitter is fair game, I think.
Yeah, it's really kind of a no man's land out there at this point, honestly.
The question is, could we handle?
I don't know.
Judge Joe Brown
in your apartment. I don't know. I might get a really bad headache.
Sugar rush.
Yeah.
I liked also this Erica Lachey girl who said, from what I read, the workloads were insane, referring to female slaves.
Yeah. Well, Aren't I a Woman? Sojourner Truth.
Yeah.
Was about, was co-opted by white feminists.
Yeah.
As like an all-encompassing kind of poem about the suffering of the female experience. When really, she was referring to like being subjected to the same sort of workloads as her male counterparts.
Right.
She made a lot of good points.
She did. She said, if the dominant society is backing your movement, you are not oppressed. She said the only reason white feminists included black women in their ranks is because they wanted to pack their numbers.
Yeah, and turn them against their own men and stuff.
She said that the strong, independent black woman trope is killing us. We can't do it on our own. And she says that independence is death and interdependence is what it's all about.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more, sister.
Amen.
And then she said, the body develops before the mind, so why should children be exposed to these ideologies they can't understand, inadvertently providing a good explanation for why CRT-like stuff should not be taught at the grade school level. But I'm staying away from that.
Anna.
Not my dog. And I don't know if it was her or somebody else who said white lesbian feminism and white male supremacy are two wings on the same bird.
Well, there was that one guy who was wearing the plaid suit who said white feminism is white supremacy dressed up in heels.
Powerful.
Yeah.
It's profound.
Yeah. And then that girl said that, we're just like fully just quoting the doc. She said that women had to decenter the narrative of oppression back onto themselves from black people back in like the suffragette times, and then again post Black Lives Matter with the Me Too movement,
right?
Which we've kind of been saying.
Yeah, I
when
mean,
Krista Elia, that comedian, got canceled for grooming, that's exactly what I said.
Yeah.
I said these white women can't handle that everyone's talking about Black lives.
No, they really can't. Yeah.
So they're going to start a whole grooming discourse that we're still dealing with today.
I mean, yeah, they have to be like the center of attention.
Yeah.
There was also a point where someone called Dr. Randy Short said that Black men get a bum rap for being homophobic. You'd think we killed Matthew Shepard or shot up the Pulse nightclub. And it's funny because neither of those cases have to do with homophobia. As it turns out, like the Matthew Shepard thing was a drug deal gone wrong, and the Pulse thing was like an Islamic thing.
Like, wasn't that homophobic?
No, he didn't.
He didn't know it was a gay nightclub?
No. Well, yeah, there's now actually a couple of months ago, all this evidence came out. I think there was like, I forgot, maybe even like the FBI like declassified some docs, but they literally said that like he didn't know that Pulse was a gay club, and he walked into it randomly after getting refused from several other clubs because he wanted to commit
he was just some
Islamic fundamentalist violence. Yeah, so he had no idea. He literally walked in and said, "Why are there no women here?"
But he's not wrong.
No,
that
he's not
homophobia
wrong.
is overblown, as in the case of DaBaby.
Yeah. And I do appreciate that this documentary is as fact free as our podcast.
Yeah.
Like finally somebody giving us a run for our money.
It's really, it's a breath of fresh air. The facts just weigh you down.
Yeah, they do.
From really understanding what's going on.
Yeah.
Intuitively.
Totally.
Through weaving a propagandistic, bizarre web that confuses you into comprehending some concept.
Yeah.
Some idea. Which is, that buck breaking is still going on.
Yes. In many imperceptible ways, such as the effort to legalize marijuana, which saps strong Black men of their vitality and virility and energy, which also like spot the lie.
Yeah. But doesn't it also deprive entrepreneurial Black men of an income source? I mean, I'm serious. Because when they legalize weed, that's when all these like white people start their like bespoke ass weed businesses.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, they're dispensaries.
Yeah. And all the drug dealers I usually buy weed from become superfluous.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Wouldn't know anything about that.
I haven't smoked weed in a while, but I'm thinking about getting back into it, honestly.
I haven't either.
Well, you really shouldn't.
I can't. Yeah. I actually Googled whether you could smoke weed if you were pregnant, but I'm not like really a stoner. You kind of can,
but you don't really smoke weed anyway.
Yeah, I'm not really into it.
And there's something about being stoned around a baby that just feels really like
horrible. Yeah.
Like uncouth.
Yeah, it's horrible. Yeah.
Being on drugs is just a different thing.
I would never do a drug around
the baby,
hide a crack pipe in
baby.
That's baby's terry cloth romper.
That ain't right. You know,
rail lines off of the baby's changing table.
That just seems so hazardous.
Yeah, it's horrible.
I'm reminded of that like urban legend about the babysitter who takes acid and like puts the baby in the oven. It's not true, but it was like a story that was told that horrified me.
Plenty of people have put babies in ovens and microwaves in the metro New York area.
No,
they have. This was like an arc on True Detective, like a mini arc.
Oh, it's a television show. Are you going to watch Succession, by the way?
Yeah, of course.
All right.
Should I not?
No, you should, but you better get started because the new season's going to come out soon.
In 2 months. I have 2 months to, right? Or
yeah. It's okay.
I have 2 months
You'll
to
like
binge.
it.
I know.
It's a good show. It's not important. It's okay.
All right.
You have a lot on your plate. I'm not.
No, I thought you were calling your own show. Okay. I was like, we are on a.
No, I mean, it's okay that you haven't watched it yet.
Of course I will watch it.
Anyway.
Matt Damon? Are we done with Buck Breaking?
I think so. I think we kind of covered it.
This is the definitive. This is the definitive review of Buck Breaking.
This is it. 5 out of 5. Bucks. Yeah, Matt Damon, speaking of the LGBT agenda, also got in some hot water this week.
Okay.
When he said in an interview with the Sunday Times, which I have a subscription to, so I read it. But then TMZ, et cetera, also reported on, in the interview, he talked about how he used to say the word faggot until recently, until his daughter asked him to stop using the F slur, and he acquiesced. And let me find the quote.
Faggot. Sorry.
I mean, we're allowed.
I've gained
to say it.
Newfound respect for DaBaby, who I just found out about yesterday, and I've lost all of my respect for Matt Damon, who I actually like as an actor.
Because he doesn't say that word anymore.
Because he allowed his publicist to plant that story in the news media for him. Why disclose that?
Well,
I guess he's promoting his new film.
It was kind of taken, if you read the Sunday Times thing, the way that it's framed in that is kind of about his willingness to own up to his mistakes, and it's much more casual in the full interview.
I mean, he's not Mark Wahlberg. He didn't curb stomp a Vietnamese guy and blind him.
No. This is from TMZ. Matt says, she left the table. I said, come on, that's a joke. I say it in the movie Stuck on You. She went to her room and wrote a very long, beautiful treatise on how that word is dangerous. I said, I retire the F slur. I understood.
You gay, bro.
Gay. Yeah. You're gonna let your Zoomer daughter tell you what words you can use. But yeah, he's promoting Stillwater.
Yeah.
Which is why he's doing kind of a press tour.
Yeah.
And people were upset with him for admitting that he was using that word until recently, which is
I think he gets a pass because he's from Boston, and saying slurs is in their DNA.
Yeah, they can't help it.
They can't help it.
Yeah.
It says Boston is clam chowder to call people retarded.
Call them retarded, call them wicked retarded, call them a faggot.
Eli does not use any of those words.
Eli would never, ever. I mean, I kind of feel like everyone says the F slur and uses gay pejoratively, maybe except I guess for Zoomers, but I have an attachment to it through my upbringing, childhood, early adolescence. Just that it was,
a word that was in circulation.
Yeah, common parlance. Yeah. And still is for me, because as a gay icon.
Yeah.
No, I mean, we're clearly very LGBT friendly on this podcast. So I don't see why there should be any problem.
I'm a gay icon. Fag hag.
Yes, as a fag hag.
As somebody who's been described as a fag hag, we have a lot
as
of
a person of fag hag experience.
I have not been excommunicated.
I was the only woman at the Pulse nightclub. I'm actually a survivor. Oh God.
Listen, I've never run afoul of any of our gay friends for saying this word, and I've dropped it many times by accident when I was drunk at Bacro in front of Glenn, or
on accident. I don't think so.
No, probably not. It's on accident.
It's context, as with DaBaby, is very important, and using language without malice counts.
Yeah,
Though I'm sure Matt Damon was probably using it with some malice, being from Boston and all. But so him and Mark Wahlberg are both in these Boston MAGA guy movies now.
Okay, what's Mark Wahlberg's movie?
Matt Damon has Stillwater, which is him trying to get, it's like an Amanda Knoxian allegory. Yeah, I'll take a little splash about a man who works on an oil rig trying to get his daughter out of jail after she's accused of a murder while studying abroad in some French ghetto.
And she's a lesbian.
She's
a recreational lesbian.
She's a recreational college-age lesbian played by Abigail Breslin.
Okay.
And he does a lot of scowling and all, like, I'm just here to get my daughter. And then a French actress goes,
I want my daughter back.
Oh, I just want my daughter back. And French actress, there's this part in the trailer, which is the only, I haven't seen the movie, obviously, where she goes, you are sounding so American right now. And he goes, good, because I am. And then Mark Wahlberg is in this movie called Joe Bell, I think.
Joe Biden.
Where he also plays like a MAGA country guy who has a gay son.
Damn.
Who he actually has a very like sweet, close bond with. And he's like, why you want to move? He's like, why you want to move to New York City? And he's like, because of Broadway, Dad. He's a little more Bostonian than that. And then his son commits suicide, and then he goes on this like redemptionist like MAGA guy journey through that. And that actually looks,
it's like hardcore, but for guys whose
twink sons
who have faggot sons
bullied
instead of whore daughters. Yeah.
Exactly.
Cool.
That's a really good pitch of it, actually. And that looks pretty heartwarming.
Yeah, I would love to watch
like,
it.
why are they bullying you in school? And he's like, because I'm different, Dad. And he's like, why can't you just be this
Vietnamese guy when I wasn't even conceived? And then you've paid him a couple $1 million to stay silent. I thought Stillwater was going to be a movie about like the Marines or the Taliban.
That's also kind of what I thought. It has that dusty poster, but no, it's like basically about Amanda Knox.
Okay.
Which they own up to, and then Amanda Knox got.
And she wrote a whole like think piece.
She wrote a think piece. And at first I was annoyed. I was like, ugh, Amanda Knox. And I was kind of like, makes me feel like you're guilty.
Yeah.
And kind of the whole, you know, the threads on Twitter and stuff, and the like, I don't know. It wasn't, I did find it annoying. It did make her seem guiltier to me, where previously I kind of did feel like she was wrongly accused. And then it sort of shone a new light on it for me, where I was like, oh, she does seem kind of desperate and unwell and a little like, I don't know.
It just made me feel like she was much more narcissistic than she let on.
Well,
and like,
I think her narcissism is why her testimony was kind of misconstrued in the first place. I think she like really got herself into a bad situation.
Yeah, and when she was making out with like Raphael Solicito, her Italian boyfriend, and that was like everywhere and whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, she's like a pretty young woman who...
Foxy Noxy,
who intuitively understands that she has a certain effect on people because she's pretty.
Yeah. But I will say, I do feel for her because the unfortunate thing about fame is that it does not always reap material rewards, and she does seem broke as shit. Like,
yeah, that's true.
She really was kind of like hoisted up onto the world stage in this like massive scandal that hasn't like paid off for her, even though she did get like a book deal and stuff. It's like, I listened to...
She's been consigned, relegated to podcasting.
I listened to her podcast and the audio quality is worse than ours.
Really? Maybe we should have her on. We should have all the people that we cite on just like roundtable.
She's
on parenting. Tariq Nasheed,
beautiful girl, those piercing blue eyes, no one can deny it, but charismatic void, and definitely something very wrong with her. And you can kind of tell when you listen to her pod. They did a 4-part series on infertility, by the way, most recently.
What?
And I was
Why?
like, she might be I didn't listen to them, but I was like skipping those. She might be infertile, or it's about, I don't know. She does it with her boyfriend, or maybe now husband. Weird. Which is also really gross and pathetic. She has clearly not a lot of friends.
She has very Temple Grandin vibes.
There's something like missing.
Yeah.
And maybe she did it.
And well, maybe that's, that, or maybe that's why the Italian authorities were so convinced. I mean, Italians, like, literally, like, they're notorious for their sloppy everything.
Their bureaucracy is such a mess.
It's
having just
incompetent.
Traveled there. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you always
I would hate to be incarcerated there.
Like, you know, and you're like a young anti-Hillaryite, you're sitting there and you're just like, yeah, the global South, fuck the Protestant work ethic, they take siesta. And then you actually get there and you're like, they literally just like can't fax a document in a timely fashion.
Yeah. Prego.
Yeah. They like go home, like eat a bowl of spaghetti, beat their wives, forget to send an email.
Anna.
I'm just saying.
No, I know. Wrongly incarcerate an innocent American girl.
Yeah. You want to see real rape culture, you go to Italy.
Big time.
But yeah, no, there's definitely, she has like what Jennifer Aniston said about Angelina Jolie. She has a sensitivity chip missing. There's something, you're right. There's like something weird going on.
Yeah.
In her head. And I sympathize with her in the sense that like she was foisted into the public eye.
So young. Like she was studying abroad. She was like experimenting with her identity. She was like doing bisexuality.
Yeah.
She was being gay. She was a victim of the LGBT agenda.
She was buck broken.
Yeah. So like
buck broken, the Amanda Knox story.
In this piece that she wrote in The Atlantic, she basically like pivots fairly early on to hawking her podcast and then inviting the Matt Damon as well as the director of Stillwater onto her podcast in this really pathetic way, which is it's like no one wants to listen to your podcast. You like are not, you don't have the what it takes, babe. You don't have the raw charisma.
You don't have what it takes to be an over 30 female shock jock.
Do you even have hot takes? Like, what's going on here? You're doing it with your boyfriend? That's not, no one wants to listen to that.
Yeah, it's a little,
Come on. Everyone knows a podcast has to be between, has to be gender segregated.
Two lesbians.
Exactly. So you can get a will they or won't they kind of vibe. Yeah. That's what everyone's really tuning in for.
Yeah. It's 9/11. Make
to
a
wait
wish.
For the day I fire and on the air. Yeah, podcast looks like shit, sounds like shit, really like broke kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so the overall impression I came away with from reading her think piece was kind of like actually feeling bad for her and being like, ugh, can someone should just toss her like a bag or something so she can like
a White Lotus care package.
Yeah.
Like a robe and some apothecary
mimosa candle.
Yeah. And like the way the article is bookended is weird. Like she starts off with the first paragraph is, does my name belong to me? Does my face? What about my life, my story? Why is my name used to refer to events I had no hand in? I return to these questions again and again because others continue to profit off of my identity and my trauma without my consent. Mm-hmm. And then like the last paragraph,
someone learned some buzzwords.
Yeah, and in the last
they got out of jail,
she says, call it radical empathy or extreme benefit of the doubt. Like these, like weird Me Too buzzwords. Yeah. She invokes Me Too.
Yeah.
At some point.
But she also makes reference in that piece to being a public figure, so she actually doesn't have any legal recourse over anyone like using her name or likeness. Really, she doesn't really own photos of herself, which sucks. I feel for her, but
yeah, I mean it sucks. Like,
I mean, life's a trip, man. Sometimes you get wrapped up in a salacious ass crime. And it really derails your life and you have to like make the most of it. And in a way that's kind of what she's doing.
By starting a podcast.
Starting a podcast. But
I mean, like, I get
it's not a, I wouldn't wish it on anyone.
I know. I feel butthurt because I'm still associated with the online left, which is a movement I had nothing to do with. I was merely friends with Amber Frost and Adam Friedland. Like that was my only involvement. And I'm just like, I feel like I killed my roommate or something because I just keep getting associated with this
without your consent
with these people who I have nothing to do with, and like I want to get as far away from these people as possible.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm transitioning out of politics completely, making a full entertainment industry pivot.
Are you still bullish on capitalism?
Well, now that it's working for me, I mean, but it's like Zizek said when we had him on the show, or maybe this was off the air. I think he said it on the show that he's like supports sort of like small initiatives, small capitalistic initiatives,
grassroots,
like hawking like thongs and towels on a podcast merchandise website, redscaremerch.com, or
totally,
you know, I don't aspire to like incredible like 1%er wealth. I just am like trying to get by. And it's true what they say. Like if you're liberal under 30, you have no heart. If you're a liberal above the age of 30, you have no brains. So I think I'm aging out of, you know, dabbling in leftism.
Socialism,
and as well as feeling, you know, pretty ostracized by that community of primarily like mentally ill, bitter losers.
I'm always like, I didn't ask for this,
but that's part of the fun, the tension that's so fun about our show. You don't want to pander.
No, I would never. I also like I sympathize.
If we had a conservative audience, you'd probably be a contrarian. And
I mean, we do. I think we have a truly diverse audience, but like it's like, you know, I sympathize also with Foxy Noxy because it's like, you know, we've been doing this for what, three and a half years.
3 years.
And like every fucking 3 weeks somebody writes a new thread or tweet about how I'm gonna go mask off and go right wing. It's like, bitch, it hasn't happened for 3 years. It's not gonna happen.
Sorry.
Just like too retarded.
Catch me if you can.
Catch,
we don't have
Khachiyan.
Khachiyan if you can. We don't, much like Buck Breaking, we don't have a coherent ideology. We're just kind of picking up on a vibe.
No, but this whole kind of, I don't know what you would call it. It's not even an op-ed. It's or a think piece, whatever. It read
personal
like
essay.
Personal essay. It read like almost like she was like, by the end of it, like I went into it sympathizing with her. By the end of it, I was like, this feels weird and tacky, and like you're trying to capitalize on the release of this particular movie starring Matt Damon, who just said the F slur.
Or stopped saying the F slur, rather. But no. I had the opposite, where I went in being like annoying, and then I was like sad. She's trying to capitalize off Stillwater, but she's broke. And she lives like, when she talks about, I think she probably was maybe exaggerating a bit about the amount of like, you know, death threats and like fan mail and like lingerie that she was mailed and stuff, but not really. Like she really did captivate.
Somebody mailed me a Red Scare thong.
I think, for her, she made a trade-off vis-a-vis fame that maybe she wouldn't have made under different circumstances. And so she doesn't have a choice. It's not like she can do something else. She's fucking Amanda Knox.
She has no choice. So she has to seek fame in the current paradigm, which sucks. That's her only option.
But beyond, the problem is she already has fame and notoriety.
But like in a bad way, but she has to keep it going. She has to keep it moving.
She has to keep it going because it's the only way she can
Amanda Knox, I have herself. 2 words, only fans.
Ooh. That would be sad.
That would be truly sad.
Stick to the pod. I wonder if they even have a Patreon. She doesn't seem like she really...
I don't know.
It's tough. It's tough to be Amanda Knox. I feel for her.
No, I do too.
But again, there's something weird about that chick.
Yeah. And it just like, I've learned the hard way, you should never try to defend or explain yourself because it doesn't work. And like, people smell blood and they take it the wrong way.
Well, she's out of jail. You know, she was found innocent ultimately.
Yeah. Wait, was this was in the Atlantic?
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting too, because the Atlantic is also on the verge of collapse financially, apparently. Wow. So it's
no surprise.
2 broke girls. They're like running this content.
Yeah, that sucks. Yeah, I mean, the Stillwater producer should cut her a check, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, like, charitably, sure, but for what? If they, like, fictionalized her
charitably.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like all this stuff exists in, like, the public domain.
Yeah, I know.
Like, you know, if I kill Leia and Emily tomorrow...
Yeah. It's a big...
Will they make a movie about me?
They might. But she, you know, allegedly didn't kill her roommate.
Right.
And I'm not really qualified to speak on that either way.
I almost feel like she didn't kill her roommate and that guy Rudy Guede, whatever his name is, did. Yeah. But something was going on that has not been revealed. There was something going on.
And she doth protest a bit much, you know. Yeah. She should get creative. She should do like a If I Did It style memoir and really like double down on the salaciousness.
Oh yeah, that's not a bad idea.
OJ or something, and just find a way to get her bag and like make some smart investments or something. Not that I want to talk, but
yo, Amanda, invest in crypto.
Yeah, doesn't she have some Bitcoin she can farm?
What does her boyfriend do?
He's like also from Washington. He owns like some. I read this on her Wikipedia. He like owns some smallish like newspaper thing. He's like also seems broke and kind of marginal. She's also severely limited, I think, in her dating options due to being like true crime media darling.
Yeah, because anybody who's gonna want to get with her, it's like chubby chasers. They're like, it's gonna be like an Amanda Knox like murder fetishes.
Exactly.
Which is creepy.
So she seems like she found a nice guy who's like from the same town she's from, and
yeah,
like they have a bond and a pod.
Yeah,
and like it's going okay, but I don't think she would have written that Atlantic piece if she wasn't hard up.
Yeah, that's true. I would be suspicious if I was her and anybody tried to date me.
Definitely. But I wish her the best.
Yeah. I hope she lands on her feet.
She's on her way.
Yeah.
See you in
hell.